Hello, America and the world. This is Radio Free Market, and I'm your guest host, Zoe Russell. We are behind the lines of socialism, my friends, and Radio Free Market is the voice of free people and free markets. Thanks goes out to Michael McKay, Radio Free Market's founder and host, for letting me fill this guest slot. Our topic today is the history of inflation with Dr. Hunt Tooley. Dr. Tooley is a professor of history at Austin College in Sherman, Texas. He specializes in modern European history and is the author of The Western Front, about the battlefronts and home fronts of the First World War, as well as National Identity in Weimar Germany, a book about ethnic politics and violence resulting from Germany's defeat in 1918. He is an adjunct faculty member of the Ludwig von Mises Institute and our honored guest for today. This is a live call-in show, so please give us a call at 1-800-313-9443. Again, that's 1-800-313-9443. Thank you for being on the show, Dr. Tooley.
Very welcome, Zoe. It's nice to talk to you.
Now, it's one of my greatest thrills in life to learn about history, not through a sanctioned textbook and without a politically correct lacquer covering the surface. And I know that the history of government-issued money is some of the most dubiously reported history out there. Can you just give us a backdrop of what the economy was like when you first taught the history of inflation course at Austin College?
Well, I certainly can, Zoe. Pardon me. When I taught the course, it was really the summer before the crash of our current Great Recession, and I began thinking a lot about the inflation rate, and I had intended to do a course in the history of inflation for quite a few years, and I thought, well, this is the perfect time to do it. And little did I know that we would have a kind of a clinical study of the business cycle as we went through our course. In fact, at the very beginning of our course, so it kind of shocked us into a sort of seriousness as we went through it.
Right. When I first learned about Austrian economics, or reality economics, as Michael McKay likes to call it, in the fall of 2007, the country had just cusped the height of the housing boom, and my professor seemed marvelously prophetic when home loans began to crumble and talking heads kept using phrases like animal spirits. Now, I know you had to confront the prevailing Keynesian myths where we find money management and animal spirits with the Austrian theory of the business cycle. So we're about to head into break, but just start explaining to us, what is the Austrian theory of the business cycle and what does it have to do with inflation?
Well, very briefly, it's just the story of inflation. When governments inflate, then the currency depreciates. It seems like there's an easy time in the economy, and it gets hotter and hotter and builds up into a kind of a currency bubble, and then it all crashes down, and what follows is sometimes called a depression, sometimes a recession, but whatever it's called, it's the correction back to some kind of honesty within the market, as opposed to the dishonesty of that inflation that happens. So it's a cycle introduced by inflation, by the fact of inflation, and for the most part, and so the cycle itself is a corrective sort of mechanism in the economy.
So how do you define inflation versus how we're taught to recognize inflation?
Well, that's a good question, Zoe, because in most cases today, inflation is just simply defined as higher prices of some kind, and governments, the modern state is quite interested to make sure that people have that definition in their mind, that it's somehow a kind of, as you say, sort of an animal spirit sort of affair, or sort of a mystical thing that prices just kind of go up. But in fact, it's the creation of more currency or more money in the form of credit and other ways that makes this that makes the inflation to begin with.
I see. Well, we're about to go to a break, so we'll be right back to delve into the history of inflation with Dr. Hunt Tooley.